Okay, now we are from group 7. Now I'm going to explain about the main clause. The main clause, sometimes called an independent clause, must contain subject and verb. Subject is involved the actions and the verb is the actions. Okay, the next is consider the sentence. The example, don't kick the habit. Okay, the questions. Where is the subject and where is the verb? Uh, okay, the subject is dine and the verb is kick. Okay, the main clause should be the sentence express a complete thought. Then it contains a subject and verb, and the last is every sentence must have one. Okay, the next is subordinate clause. Whenever you place a subordinate conjunction in front of a subject and a verb, you will no longer have complete thoughts. And the second is the subordinate clause is sometimes referred to as a dependent clause. Okay, the subordinate conjunctions like after, although, as, because, before, even if, even though, even if, once, rather than, since, and so many. You can read it alone in our presentations. For the example of subordinate conjunctions, like after Ginny sneezed all over the tuna salads. So the conjunction is after, and then until Mark have his first cup of coffee, and a subordinate conjunction is until. Okay, the attaching a subordinate clause to a main clause. When you place subordinate clause in front of a main clause, we use a comma like the example. While robins are fighting in the garden, comma, other birds eat the food. Uh, the 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 structure is subordinate clause at comma at main clause. Then when you place a subordinate clause at the end, you will generally use no punctuations like the example. Susan was late for her history exam because she missed her bus. The structure is main clause at subordinate clause. There is no punctuations. Okay, that's my explanations.
Okay, I'm Wardah, Nabila, and now I want to continue the next material. This is about clause and sentence. As we know, clause is an important unit of analysis because many head modifier relations are found within the clause and because the criteria for constituent structure and such as transposition apply best inside the clause, and the sentence is not very useful in this respect. Only a few dependency relation, cross clauses, boundaries, and the constituent structure criteria don't really apply outside single clauses. An example: North Rock has discovered where Annie Elliot stayed. In this sentence, contain the main clause North Rock has discovered where Annie Elliot stayed. And the next, relative clauses. Relative clauses are embedded in noun phrase and immediately follow the head noun. An example: Annie as Tony said her father. In here, any is replaced in, and that Captain Wentworth married Annie as Tony said her father. In this sentence, by the complement clause, the Captain Wentworth married Annie, the sense in. And the next is time adverb. An example: yesterday lady eloped with Wickham. Yesterday occur at the beginning of a clause or at the end of the verb phrase. And the second, Lydia eloped with Wickham when she went to Brighton. In this sentence, adverbial clauses of time typically occur in the same position. And the next, Adverbial clauses. Adverbial clauses of reason behave in a similar fashion. An example: the first, because of the strike, the commuter traveled by army lorry, and the second, because of the bus driver were on strike, the commuter traveled by army lorry. In here, compare sentence A with the press because of the strike and sentence B with the clause because the bus driver were on strike. Both can predict or follow the main clause and both the optional or adjuncts. And the next is clauses of causation and condition. Clauses of causation and condition can also be seen as parallel to phrases. An example: in spite of his dislike of Mr. Bennet, Mr. D.R.C. married Elizabeth. Uh, in this phrase, in spite of is not obviously a concession phrase, whereas yesterday and because of the strike are clearly time and recent phrases respectively. Uh, so the smaller units of phrases and clauses are linked to each other by various head modifier relation. Given phrase or clause can only occur in certain lots inside sentences. Sentences are better treated as unit of discourse into which the writer group clauses. Subordinate clauses are indeed grammatically complete in themselves and their pattern of occurrence can be specifically, but cannot stand on their own independent of context. So finally, there are dense boundaries of the dependencies among the constituents of clauses. Okay, that's all. Thank you very much.
More properties of subordinate clauses. The subordinate clauses in a given sentence are to a large extent grammatically independent of the main clause. They can't stand on their own, in writing at any rate, but the main clause does not control the choice of verb and other constructions, nor the choice of participant roles, tense, aspect, and modal verbs. Subordinate clauses are, however, subject to a number of constraints that do not apply to main clauses. For instance, main clauses can be declarative, interrogative, or imperative. For example, A. Captain Wentworth wrote a letter to Annie Elliot. B. Did Captain Wentworth write a letter to Annie Elliot? C. Write a letter to Annie Elliot. Subordinate clauses are not free with respect to choice of declarative, interrogative, and imperative syntax. For example, relative clauses, adverbial clauses, and most types of complement clause must have declarative syntax. Example: if did Emma leave Hartfield, Mr. Woodhouse would be unhappy. Complement clauses have straightforward interrogative syntax. Subordinate clauses are limited in other respects. Main clauses, but not subordinate clauses, are open to a wide range of syntactic contraction. Syntaxis contraction. The construction has a preposition in first position followed by the main verb followed by the subject NP. It can occur in declarative, main clauses, and in complement clauses. Complement clauses are the last subordinate and allow preposition fronting, negative fronting, and depending on the head verb, interrogative structure. Relative clauses and adverbial clauses are most subordinate. Adverbial clauses of reason following the main clause seem to play a different role from the one they play preceding the main clause. It has been suggested that adverbial clauses predicting the main clause serve as signposts to the text, whereas adverbial clauses following the main clause serve as comments on what has been said or written. It has been proposed that sequence of main clause plus adverbial clause of reason come close to being conjoined clause, that is, clauses of equal status. Example: Fanny stopped talking when in calm Aunt Norris.
I'm Anissa Amalia as the fourth speakers and will explain about finite clause and non-finite clause. A finite clause is a main clause or a subordinate clause that must have a verb to show tense. A verb refers to present tense and past tense. The tense can be changed from the present tense to the past tense or past tense to the present tense. Because the verb in the present tense or past tense is called a finite verb, so the clause that contains a finite verb is called a finite clause. Okay, look at the example. I go to the market. Go is present tense. It's a verb. So it is clause present tense. Verb 1. So this is an example of finite clause because go is finite verb. And the second example, we were not allowed in. We were not allowed in because we arrived late. The past tense is used in the main clause. Main clause, finite clause, we were not allowed in, and in the subordinate clause, finite clause, because we arrived late. So this is a clause that contains past tense. So the clause is called finite clause. And the last example is Alan. Alan went to my house last night. Alan as a subject, when as a verb. When is the past tense of verb that explain this clause is past tense, right? So past tense is used in the main clause. This is typo. Used in the main clause. So Alan went to my house last night is contain a finite verb, so this clause is called finite clause. Next, non-finite clause. Non-finite clause is opposite than finite clause because a non-finite clause is a subordinate clause that is based on a to infinitive or a participle. It contains a verb that does not show tense, which means it does not to show the time at which something happened. There are 3 types of non-finite clause. So this is not finite clause is different with finite clause because finite clause is about past tense and present tense. Non-finite clause is about to infinitive, gerund, and the other. First is to infinitive clause. In this clause, the verb comes after the word to. So the to plus verb 1. It's called to infinitive clause. For example, you can see in this slide, he gave up his job to travel the world. To travel, it is to infinitive because the verb comes after word to. The verb it is travel comes after the word to. And second example is we wanted to ask her to come along. To ask as the verb comes after the word to. And the last example is the person to make the report to at the police station, blah blah blah. To make, to and make is the verb comes after the word to. And next, it is about non-finite. Point B, present participle clause or in clause. In this clause, the verb ending in blah 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 in is used. So present participle, it is contain blah 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 in clause. For example, he is historically spoiled child, being the only one in the family. Being for the word be, and the verb ending is in. You are the only one capable of solving the problem. Solving, the other of solving, solve, and ending with in. And the example you can see. Okay, next is point C, past participle clause. In this clause, the past participle form of the verb is used. So example, trained as an acrobat since young, she has amazed audiences with her super skill. Example 2, all the children gathered in that grove were ready to perform a traditional dance. So the past participle, like trained from train, and then gathered from gather, and then to change to be a pass. Next, and it is a last point from a non-finite clause. A subordinate conjunction is often used to begin a non-finite clause. A subordinate are if, unless, so it is used to begin. Jadi di sini subordinate conjunction itu ada di depan non-finite clause. For example, her appointment, if approved, will make her the company first female general manager. If approved, and then approve is non-finite clause. And then the police, unless notified, and then talk injured, it is talk. So a subordinate conjunction is conjunction that used to begin a non-finite clause. Okay. Thank you very much for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.